Tensions over the blockade have surfaced a new challenge, as Iran says its food supply remains steady despite the pressure. Donald Trump appeared caught off guard as Mojtaba outlined a plan to import food from alternative sources. Reports suggest that more than 30 Iran-linked ships have moved through the blockade zone, highlighting the limits of enforcement. Meanwhile, as a fragile truce is extended, missile displays on the streets are being used to signal defiance. As President Donald Trump extends a ceasefire agreement with Iran amid ongoing tensions in the region, the international focus is now sharply turning toward the continuing US-led naval blockade that remains firmly in place on Iran's key ports and coastal areas. Iran's agriculture minister has publicly claimed that the US naval blockade, despite its broad scope and enforcement, has had surprisingly little overall impact on Tehran's economy, food supplies, and daily operations up to this point. Gholam Reza Nouri, Iran's agriculture minister, made this bold remark on April 21 during a public statement, as reported in detail by news outlet Times of Israel. Iran's agricultural minister said, quote, "Despite the US naval blockade, we have no problem in supplying basic goods and food because due to the size of the country, it is possible to import from different borders. About 85% of agricultural products and basic goods are produced domestically, so the country's food security is established," unquote. The United States had previously imposed a comprehensive naval blockade targeting Iran's major ports and extensive coastlines exactly on April 13, marking a significant escalation in the military and economic pressure. Iran has strongly criticized America's ongoing naval blockade in official statements and diplomatic channels, describing it unequivocally as a clear and direct violation of the fragile ceasefire terms that both sides had tentatively agreed upon earlier. US President Trump, meanwhile, claimed confidently in his latest public address that Iran was already on the brink of total collapse under mounting pressures, even as he announced the extension of the truce to allow for further negotiations. Trump said, quote, "Iran is collapsing financially. They want the Strait of Hormuz opened immediately, starving for cash, losing $500 million a day. Military and police complaining that they are not getting paid. SOS." Unquote. Iranians took to the streets in organized displays of national pride, showcasing their advanced ballistic missiles prominently as they celebrated the ceasefire extension with parades and public rallies across major cities. Hours before the United States announced the extension of the ceasefire, Iran visibly ramped up its show of military strength, holding orchestrated public events to signal resolve. The Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps on April 21 staged public displays of ballistic missiles in several Iranian cities, underscoring the country's emphasis on its missile arsenal amid the ongoing war. The parades took place in Tehran, Kerman, and Arak just hours before President Trump revealed that he was extending the truce, timing the events to coincide with a key diplomatic turn. Iran International reported on April 21 that the missile displays were held against the backdrop of a stalemate in indirect talks, framing them as a political statement as much as a military one. Videos shared by Iranian state media showed ballistic missiles being paraded through residential and urban areas, giving the impression that the hardware is deeply embedded in everyday life. Large crowds were seen waving Iranian flags and chanting anti-US and anti-Israel slogans, reflecting both state-organized mobilization and genuine public anger toward the Western powers. The crowds also chanted slogans praising Iran's military establishment and calling for strikes against Israel, signaling that domestic sentiment remains firmly behind an assertive posture. Hezbollah flags were visible at several locations during the rallies, underlining the ideological and operational alignment between Iran and its regional proxy network. At the Tehran rally, the Garda ballistic missile was prominently displayed in a central square, drawing attention to one of Iran's key long-range systems. In another part of Tehran, the Khorramshahr 4 ballistic missile was also put on display, with state media using the imagery to project reach and deterrence. An image attached to one of the displayed missiles reportedly identified a potential target as Ras Gas, a liquefied natural gas firm in Qatar, suggesting that Gulf energy infrastructure is on Iran's hit list. These displays form part of a broader pattern of regular, ongoing pro-government rallies that have been held across Iran since the war began on February 28. US President Donald Trump announced on April 21 that the current ceasefire with Iran would be extended, altering the timeline for the temporary pause in hostilities. In a post on his Truth social platform, Trump said that attacks will be held off until Iran puts forward a formal proposal, tying the extension to the prospect of a new diplomatic offer. The truce, which had been set to expire on April 22nd, was extended at the request of Pakistani mediators, as Trump stated, reflecting their continued role as a back-channel broker. Hours earlier, Trump had publicly expressed that he was not in favor of prolonging the ceasefire, according to Al Jazeera coverage of his on-the-record remarks, underscoring the last-minute nature of the reversal. On X, Pakistani Prime Minister Shehbaz Sharif also expressed gratitude to Trump for extending the ceasefire, welcoming the decision as a chance to preserve the diplomatic window. Donald Trump said, and I quote, "I have therefore directed our military to continue the blockade and, in all other respects, remain ready and able, and will therefore extend the ceasefire until such time as their proposal is submitted and discussions are concluded, one way or the other." Iranian leadership did not immediately respond to Trump's announcement of the ceasefire extension, leaving the level of Tehran's engagement unclear in the first hours after the move. However, Iran's Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps issued a warning that it would respond immediately with force if the United States launches any new attacks, maintaining a posture of high alert. Ibrahim Zolfagari said, and I quote, "Our capable and powerful forces have been in a state of 100% readiness and with their fingers on the trigger for a long time, so that in the event of any aggression or action against Islamic Iran, they will immediately launch a powerful attack on predetermined targets, and teach the aggressive America and the child-killing Israeli regime another lesson, more severe than before."
$25 करोड़ गरीब गरीबी को परास्त करके बाहर निकले।
For the good of our nation, let's work together and let's truly make America great again.
The fastest news breaks.
Requested PM saying that look, you will have to speak to Putin and to Zelensky.
The biggest newsmakers.
The relationship with India is probably the most important bilateral relationship the US will have for the rest of this century.
The capital delivered quite an election result today.
Expert analysis.
The million-dollar question today is how to stop this dance of death.
Ground reports.
I'm standing at the crossroad of the Kumbh Mela. Behind me are more than 100 entry ghats.
Long-form interviews.
Exclusionary politics is reflected in Manipur case as well. You don't bother because this is a small state.
Deep dive into burning issues.
It's often said DRC could be the richest country in the whole world. It's because of what sits underneath.
Why exactly did the US topple the Sheikh Hasina government?
HT videos. We don't just break news, we break it down.